I apologize for the sort of impromptu nature of this video. I don't have a microphone. I'm at a random office in Barcelona, Spain, actually, right now, but wanted to make this video as quickly as possible because there is pretty huge news that is going to interest my audience that I want to discuss. So, the editor in chief of XboxEra.com has come out and announced that Rocksteady is working on a Batman Arkham game, and that the next game that they're developing, after, of course, the historic failure of the Suicide Squad game, is going to be Batman Arkham again. They're going back to Batman Arkham, according to the editor in chief of Xbox Era. Now, why I believe this and think this is true. This is not just a Reddit post, which, in the past, especially when I was younger and duped easier by certain things, I would report on Reddit posts and things like this that had very little legitimacy. And this guy is a legitimate journalist. And generally, when somebody like this or Jason Schreier, as much as we've had our beef in the past or whatever, these people are pretty accurate. Legitimate, real gaming journalists are very reliable. And so I do think this is true. Okay. Now, what he also said is that the game, Sony is trying to secure it as an exclusive to PlayStation, which is a whole different can of worms I'll discuss later in this video. But first, let me just start with this. Am I happy about this? Am I happy that Rocksteady is going back to Batman Arkham? And the answer is yes. And to me, I was never one of the people who was saying, "Oh, I'm sick of Batman Arkham. We need to do other games." I was never on that train. Okay, and the reason why is because we saw what happened with Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights, right? Like, I think that right now, WB Games is in a rebuild phase. Okay, and so the highest probability of success that the developers have is actually using the infrastructure of Arkham that we already have and creating more installments into that franchise. This is just my personal opinion. Okay, now some people will disagree with this, but for me, I think that Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League is what happens when this sort of misguided creativity is not channeled correctly and is not led correctly, right? And it's great to be creative. The Arkham Asylum, when it came out, was revolutionary and very creative, but you have to be at a certain level to execute that. And the reality is, Rocksteady and WB Montreal have not been at that level lately. Okay, the founders of both studios pretty much left. The best writer, Paul Dini, he left. Okay, so it was not the time, in my opinion, and I think the evidence bore this out, to be experimenting with all these crazy new things that you've never done before, right? When Paul Dini leaves and the founders of the studio and all these things, which granted happened after the game was basically done in a failure, but that is the time to sort of go back to the well and stick with what works. And I would rather every day of the week get another solid 8 out of 10 Arkham game than a 2 out of 10 trash game like Suicide Squad Kill Justice League, which I might even give a 1. I think it's one of the worst games ever made. I think it's absolutely horrible. And but if that exact same group made another Arkham game, I'm not saying it would be Arkham City. I'm not saying that this next Arkham game is going to be the best game ever. But what I am saying is that there are things to explore in the universe that haven't been done yet. We still haven't gotten a Batwing. We still haven't gotten a true Gotham, really. I mean, the Arkham Knight map is pretty good, but it's fairly small by modern standards, and it only has 3 islands, and there's a lot of things that are missing. You can get really, really large with the Gotham City map, which we didn't really get. As I mentioned, the Batwing, and also a true Bat Family game is something we haven't gotten in the Arkhamverse either. Of course, Arkham Knight was sort of the closest we got to this, but not really a pure Bat Family game. So, with all these things being said, I mean, to me, there's a lot of untapped potential, and this is the safest bet. This is a game that I do think Rocksteady can make, even without Sefton Hill, even without Paul Dini. Because remember, W Montreal made Batman Arkham Origins in 2013 without Paul Dini, without some, god tier studio head or anything, because the Arkham formula already exists. The gameplay works, the story mechanics work, the structure and flow of the game, and so things are already sort of established. Whereas when you try to build a game from scratch, it didn't work very well in this universe. And so I think in theory, I love what the fans are saying of, oh, we want a Flash game, we want a Superman game. But I mean, if you can't make a Captain Boomerang game good, like I don't think that I'm not banking that you're going to be able to make Superman work. I'm just being honest. Superman game is way harder. Flash is way harder than making Captain Boomerang playable. Okay, and so it took him 10 years for Suicide Squad to kill the Justice League, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Can they make a follow up to Batman Arkham Knight? I think they can. Do they need to make key hires? Yes. Have a lot of the best developers at the studio left? Yes. Do they need to go out and recruit the best people that they can find to bring in? Yes. But keep in mind, it's hard to hire people for a Suicide Squad game because nobody cares about that IP. Let's just keep it real, okay? So now that they're making Batman, that's going to have the interest of top tier devs, in my opinion. A Suicide Squad game is not something that is a dream project for anybody. Batman is. That is a dream project for a lot of developers. Okay, so this, I think, is a phenomenal move. It is going back to the basics. It's going back to getting a base hit win before trying to hit a grand slam out of the park and make a whole new franchise and that sort of thing. It also doesn't, I think that some of the creative liberty that they had in the story with Suicide Squad didn't help them. It didn't work because it created almost too much flexibility, too much freedom that they were just kind of doing crazy stuff that didn't make any sense. And Arkham is a little bit more on the rails. You're working in the canon of the games. And so I guess what I'm saying is that it handcuffs Rocksteady a little bit more, but it also sort of points them in a North Star sort of direction that they've been in before and they know how to get to. And I think this is especially true. I agree with what people are saying that a lot of the best devs have left. That is true. I agree that the essence of Rocksteady's greatness has left. But what I also think is that a studio can make a really solid Arkham game just by having the code that they already have, the infrastructure they already have, and you don't necessarily have to do something mind-blowing and revolutionary. I mean, you look at Batman Arkham Origins. There were aspects of it that were revolutionary. I mean, the boss fights were really compelling. And the map was a little bit bigger and these sort of things. But by and large, it was a sort of reskin of Arkham City with a new story. But it was phenomenal. I mean, it's a really good game. Some people say it's their favorite Arkham game. And that's exactly what I'm saying is that this game doesn't have to revolutionize Batman Arkham. I think what fans want after Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad game is just more of what has worked in the past. More Batman Arkham. And that's all I want as a fan. I don't want them experimenting with anything else. I don't want them trying to make Flash. I don't want a Superman game. I do not want a Flash game. In theory, I do. But do I trust WB to actually execute and make it happen? No, I don't. Not at all. I don't trust them to do anything besides a Batman Arkham Knight reskin. And so that's what I want. I want a Batman Arkham Knight reskin. Nothing else from Rocksteady. Nothing else. And if that offends devs and they're like, they don't want to make Batman games anymore, I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. That's my opinion. We gave you a leash of 10 years to do your own thing, and it was horrible. And to experiment with something crazy off the wall and different and whatever. No thanks. I'm good. I'll pass. Let me go back to the basics. Make another Arkham Origins, make another Batman Arkham Knight. Uh, and again, I completely disagree with the. And again, I think I've been vindicated, honestly. I really do. Because I was kind of saying this all along that it sounds in theory great to get a Superman game. It sounds great in theory to get a Flash game. But, those take 10 years to make because they're so complicated. And but I will say I did think that Rocksteady could do the game. I just thought that it would take them a lot of time. But what we now know is that they actually can't do the game. They actually cannot make a good Superman game, in my opinion, with this current staff, with the current infrastructure. And I know this sounds harsh and rude, and I'm not trying to be rude or hurt people's feelings or whatever. I'm just speaking candidly. And by the way, I'm not talking about the junior devs either. Sefton Hill was there for 9/10 of this game's development. It was in development for 9 years. He was there for 8 of the 9. He left at the last minute and threw all of the junior devs under the bus and blamed them for the game failing. Not overtly, but tacitly. The remaining junior devs are the people who took the heat because Sefton Hill and Gaz Deeves left. And through that process, is Gaz Deeves the other founder? I think that's his name. I forget, but Sefton Hill's the main guy. And he dipped out because he knew the game was going to be trashed. He knew it was horrible. And he said, okay, I leave, I quit, and I am not going to take any of the flack associated, sorry, I'm moving so there's no glare, associated with how horrible this game is. That was his plan. That was his strategy, right? And I just don't see any world where we get Superman or Flash from Rocksteady. I don't see it. Batman Arkham Knight 2, I can see it. I think it's possible. Okay, so that's really where I stand with this, guys. I think this is great news. I think this is absolutely great news. And, I tweeted jokingly, we are so back. And a lot of people are responding and saying, I want Superman, I want Flash. And then the other thing that I'm seeing people say is this is the same people that made Suicide Squad. And to those 2 points, I would say, again, I don't think they can pull off Flash or Superman. They can't even make Suicide Squad, which is way easier. So, hell no, they can't make Superman. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance. Not unless you literally pull some amazing game director, I don't know, the game director on GTA or Naughty Dog. I know a lot of people don't like Neil Druckmann now, but somebody of that caliber to come do the game, there's no way. There's no way. They can't do it. Flash, they can't. But going back to the well, reskinning Arkham, I think they can do it. And I prefer that over nothing. I prefer that over a horrible game. I prefer that over Suicide Squad. And so I'm not going to sit here and complain that, they're just doing a cash grab. No shit, they're doing a cash grab. They just lost $200 million. They have no choice but to do a cash grab. They have to make money or they're all going to be fired by WB. This is their last effort to make money. Studios cannot have 2 big games that lose money and survive. It doesn't happen. One game you can survive. Maybe 50-50 chance you go out of business after one big failure. 2 in a row is a death sentence. You can't survive it. The studio will be shut down. What is the best way to make sure Rocksteady doesn't get shut down? Another Batman game. That's the answer. So I know some people aren't going to like it, but those are the facts, and I am thrilled about this. They need to make key hires, get some great people in there, and make a great Batman Arkham game. And I truly do believe that the best Arkham game that we can get is still in the future if this is handled correctly. So overall, really good news. Very, very excited about this.